It's gracious. What is going on, YouTube? Hey, vanity is a sin, Aunt Josephine. What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to We Sibz, West Coast, East Coast siblings, where we break down your favorite movies and TV shows. Tonight, we are talking Servant, the finale, episode 10. So much went down, so much was revealed. I figured I would jump on live since it's the finale. We'll have a little fun. We'll chat it up a little bit. So be sure to hit me in the comments as we can discuss episode 10 together. So let's begin to break it down. Before we get started, hit the subscribe button and click the bell, all that good stuff. And man, I have so many notes here. But obviously, the big thing is the reveal of Aunt Josephine finally saying, you know, her Thanos moment, I'll do it myself. She comes there. George obviously wasn't able to go through with the killing of Leanne. And so Aunt Josephine comes in to seal the deal. Now, I want to talk about first what the prophecy was about reuniting them at Christmas. So we find out about this ritual on a Betamax tape that they basically have to do some slicing and dicing to release this soul. Now, initially, I thought that this would be something that was done to Dorothy. I thought they were going to kill Dorothy. That would have been crazy. And as much as she's gotten on my nerves, just like the realization, like being on the edge of my seat for this episode, like, are they really going to do this? Are they really going to go through with it? They didn't. And actually, it was planned for Leanne. So for her reuniting with her cult that she had left, she had betrayed them. And so it was about getting one of their own members back into the fold. But I do want to point out the similarity between the two because both Dorothy and Leanne very similarly were looking to be reunited, as where Leanne was reluctant and didn't want to be reunited with her cult. Dorothy did want to be reunited with Jericho. We'll get to that because Jericho is back, I guess, if we want to say he's back. And Leanne is just ridiculously powerful at this point. It seems she has some ability to animate inanimate objects. So what I'm assuming is that the doll Jericho is now the baby Jericho. Now, whether this is some kind of spell, whether she's messing with the way that they're perceiving the doll to make it seem more lifelike, or whether she's full on brought this thing to life, still remains to be seen. M. Night, man, just crazy with the jump scares. You know what's weird? It wasn't like this for most of the season. It was on a whole nother level of scary and jump scares and all that stuff tonight in a way that we hadn't seen for most of the season. And I didn't mind it. You know, obviously Servant is one of those thrillers. And so it was nice to see that. So we have George and May. George and May are not in the picture anymore, as Josephine said. So whatever happened to them, George is just gone. He got hit by a car. We haven't seen him since. And May is just out of the picture. We've barely seen her at all. I don't think at all this entire season. So they're both gone. Josephine has decided to take this on herself. Now, one thing that I do want to talk about here is the whole ritual, because apparently they were going to try and burn Leanne, having her soul reunite with their god. So essentially they would be killing her. So reuniting is not actually her being able to rejoin the cult. It's actually them just giving her soul back to their god and straight up killing her. It was funny because they were talking about hoping that the death wouldn't take if you didn't do it right. The death wouldn't take. Like if they're dead, they're pretty dead. Another thing, Leanne straight up asked Sean to not leave her alone with Josephine. And in the very next scene, that's exactly what he does. I don't understand. It didn't make any sense to me. Another thing that was really got on my nerves about this episode, and I love the episode, it was great. Dorothy, after she saves Leanne from Josephine, she's like, oh, let me run upstairs. And this girl is like sliced on the arm, bleeding out. I thought she was going to cauterize the thing when she was heating up the knife. But no. And Dorothy's like, okay, I'll be back. Like, obviously, and you could see it coming. Like, you knew that Josephine was going to wake back up. The second she got hit with that shovel, I was like, okay, it's time to end her. Like take her out, throw her in the fire, whatever you have to do, because you know she's going to come back. But no, and it was kind of a cliche, but you figured it was coming. And then, man, Josephine got murked. It was insane. Vanity is a sin, Aunt Josephine. And then the scolding knife just plunged right in there. So Leanne actually says at the end of the episode, she knows that she has started a war But I'll tell you what, she seems uber powerful at this point. At the end of the season, even being able to reanimate the Jericho doll, in addition to all the sparks and spontaneous combustion and all the other things we've seen her do during this season. So there's really no telling what she's going to do, but we're going to assume that she's staying with the Turner family. She's going to stay with Dorothy and Sean. She mentioned as much. She said as much. She said, "We will be a family now." So she's going to protect them. And all heck is about to break loose as the cult is going to be coming after her. Now, one thing that I'm curious about is how are they aware when one of them dies or is in danger or the whereabouts of what's going on? For instance, I want to point back to when George decided to go over to the Turner house. I'm assuming they knew he was there, but once they figured they wanted to kill Leanne, how did they know when to send the box? And then also when George decided not to go through with it and then got hit by a car, how did the cult know? Now, here's one thing it could be. Roscoe. Roscoe, the character, he might be keeping tabs on them. Remember, Roscoe got brainwashed. He was the one saying, we're all in a room. He was crying and stuff. They had to hypnotize him or whatever. He might be keeping tabs on the entire Turner family at this point and telling the cult what's going on. So that's why they sent the box for George to kill Leanne. And when he didn't go through with it, that's when they sent Aunt Josephine. But somebody is watching their family. And so it's all going to come to a head now that Josephine is burnt to a crisp inside the walls of their house. It's all gonna break loose like you can't even imagine. So can't wait for season 3. I don't know if we have a confirmed season 3. Let me know in the comments down below. I'll Google that at some point and get that information out to you guys. But so I think Josephine at one point throws some like holy water or acid or whatever, what have you, onto Leanne's eyes, and she becomes blind. And from there, I honestly thought that Leanne was going to die in this episode. Now, I would not have wanted Leanne to die, but when you think about it, we haven't had any significant deaths really in this show since Jericho himself. Honestly, if you think about it. Now, I thought we had a close call with Julian, and I thought that they were going to go through with that. I thought they were actually going to let him die, and I was like, wow, he's the most famous actor on the show, and for them to kill him off, wow, that's gutsy. They must really know what they're doing, or at least know what they want to do with the story. But no, they brought him back. And Leanne, I thought she was gonna that would have been another close call death, but no, she survives as well. So everybody has made it through. So all the stakes and all the danger that we talk about, it hasn't actually manifested per se yet. So another thing, let's talk about Leanne's powers. So Apple TV has put out videos for the past couple weeks talking about the behind the scenes of the previous week's episode. And 2 weeks ago's episode, M. Night Shyamalan himself kind of alluded to the fact that Leanne does confirmed have powers. When she gets emotional, things start to happen. So like with the spontaneous combustion and with her being able to possibly animate that doll. I do believe it is the doll that has been reanimated. And I said this earlier in this episode, if it would just be something where she's changing the way they're perceiving the doll. Let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts on that, because I think it must be some kind of perception spell, honestly. Because because Jericho is dead. We can't forget that. I know that this show kind of runs all around, and it's so, Dorothy, it's hard not to relate to her sometimes, and you get caught up in her world and you sympathize with her because she's a mother who's lost her child. That sometimes you begin to forget, no, you probably killed your child. I know some people have said in the last couple weeks, no, it really was the car thing. It really just got too hot in the car, and that's how Jericho died. But I just haven't been able to quite buy it yet. I do think that along with the other delusions that have happened in this show, that's another delusion that they are telling themselves, that Jericho died by an accident. We know the whole 2 a.m. thing. If you guys remember the episode from this season called 2 a.m., Dorothy goes nuts, okay, in the wee hours of the morning. And, she was highly stressed. And that's where I want to get into Sean, who sits down at one point in the episode and is about to tell Dorothy the exact truth. And I was so ready for this because I thought we were really going to get the real truth of the matter. But I think that in addition to Dorothy, Sean has also kind of been under a delusion. But he was away working as a chef on a TV show or whatever. She was under a lot of stress. She felt neglected. And I guess 2 a.m. came, and Jericho was not sleeping like a baby. He was probably crying or something. And I think she killed him. I mean, I know they haven't really confirmed that, but that's really like, why build up all the craziness? Why build up all this stuff and all the delusion that she's been going through? Why even have the episode 2 a.m. In which she would go up to Leanne's room and like assault her? You can't tell me that this didn't happen with Jericho. So let me know what you think about that, certainly down in the comments. Overall, this season was good, and I'll say that it's good because we got some information. So I hate stories that are mysterious, but they never actually give you any information on what's going on. A show like Under the Dome is one. If you talk to Sydney, well, you could talk to her, you comment, whatever. She covers the show Debris on NBC, and she says it has a lot of Under the Dome vibes, where it's this mysterious thing that's happening, but they just don't give you any information. So I do like this season overall because we do get some information. We do find out more about the cult. We find out about more of the hierarchy. We find out more about them actually being servants. Josephine alludes to this in the episode tonight, saying that is our purpose. Our job is to serve him. So whoever this him is, who is this guy? Because Josephine, Leanne says, killing her is going to start a war. So she's obviously a high-ranking member of this cult, but she's not the top. And speaking of the cult, that was a crazy scene where they had the people like beating themselves up and fighting themselves to it's a classic song. I forget the name of it. I'm blanking on the name. That was so bizarre. And I thought the whipping thing was bizarre we saw in the past couple episodes, but that took it to an entire new level. That entire video actually on the Betamax. So this cult is it's pretty old. You could guess, not trying to date anyone or anything, you know what I'm saying? But the Betamax machines are pretty old, and they recorded this tape on a Betamax tape. So, you know, the cult is relatively old. People have grown. I would imagine Josephine might be an original member. So before we wrap, I want to talk about Leanne's origins, where she comes from, where her family comes from, and what her purpose is and what the cult wants her for, as we get ready to go into hopefully season 3. So as we know, Leanne, she lost her parents in a house fire. George and his wife found her, okay, and brought her to the cult, and she was raised there ever since, taught and trained to be a servant. Now, here's the interesting thing. It's all about the origin of the fire itself. Did they see the potential in Leanne? Did they see her potential powers? And did they decide to kill Leanne's parents and indoctrinate baby Leanne so that one day she would be an ultimate warrior, an ultimate servant for their cause? I think they're the Church of Lesser Saints, which is kind of funny. So yeah, that's the thing about Leanne. We don't know why they brought her into the cult, but I don't think that it was an accident. I don't think that they really just walked by and just happened to see a baby on the road and picked her up. I'm not buying that. So some questions we have going into season 3 are obviously what is going to happen with Julian and Natalie? That's the first thing on my mind, because we know that he was cheating on her already. He's kind of got an awkward relationship with Leanne now. Now that Leanne is pretty much a permanent part of the family, we know Dorothy's going to love him, Leanne, at this point, because she brought back baby Jericho. Okay, so their relationship's about to get a whole lot better because she hated Dorothy, and Dorothy didn't like her either and would torture her at 2 a.m. So, the bringing back of baby Jericho is definitely going to ease that relationship. And Julian has awkward tension with Leanne at this point. So I would imagine she would make it awkward for him. And the whole thing about her bringing him back to life, I feel like she used, and again, I'm going to quote WandaVision from Marvel, it seems like a kind of chaos magic. Like even when George got hit by the car, she was manipulating the situation somehow by her emotions. And M. Night Shyamalan actually alluded to that, like I said, in one of the previous behind the scenes episodes, is that her emotional state has an effect on the chances of things happening. So I think Julian's death also was tied to that, her emotional state, because remember, she was trying to come on to Julian in the kitchen in that episode, the episode where he died. He technically, I guess, died, his heart stopped or whatever. And he was like not having it at all. And he was obviously conflicted because Natalie was blowing up his phone. So he just started, drug abusing. That was crazy. But yeah, so I think that's a major concern here, is Leanne just kicking Julian out of the family altogether. And now that Dorothy is, going to have such a great relationship with Leanne because she saved the baby, that's something to look out for. George, I guess, is effectively gone. So as far as questions for next season, I'm not going to ask anymore. They seem to have just written him off. I mean, that is the girl's father. Did he die? I mean, it seemed like he was moving. It didn't seem like he was dead. I don't know. I have to go back and watch the episode. Let me know in the comments whether you think he's gone for good or not, if he'll be making a return. But anyway, guys, that was a huge episode. So much revealed. Hats off to M. Night for not leaving us in the dark again. Not again, but just like a lot of shows do, where they don't actually give you any information. We got a lot of good information here. So guys, be sure to hit the like button. Keep it locked here. Snyder Cut came out today. We did a full video on that. We got a ton of shows. If you're looking for more Apple TV shows to watch, since you're watching Servant, I also did a full series on Defending Jacob with Chris Evans, as well as C with Jason Momoa. So I will, after the end of the show, I will put those links in the description below if you're looking for something else to watch. Those are definitely good shows. Thank you guys. Again, keep it locked here. Subscribe. Click the bell so that you don't miss as we cover your favorite movies and TV shows. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.